Welcome to the Joshua Moroles podcast.
3, 2, 1. So just so people can get familiar with you, what do you do and how did you start doing what you're doing now?
Okay, you might want to rephrase that because I'm not modeling at the moment.
Okay.
But.
Well, tell us about your journey then.
Okay, so I grew up ever since I was little, loving the camera. My mom would joke around and say, she'd pull out the big old shoulder camera with the microphone, and she said that I would always run to it and smile, or my sister would joke around and have a flashlight and whatever. So anyways, I was always into modeling and taking pictures, and just, I loved myself growing up. So my sister contacted me one day and said, hey, there is a model search, and Torrid is a great brand, which I was familiar with the store. And she said, you should audition, you should apply. What can you lose? Not too big of a fan in front of people. I don't like big crowds. Like, I have anxiety. It's just not my thing. She said, just try it. Okay. So my fiance said, you know what? If this is something you want to try, I will fly you out to Dallas. You can visit your sister and you can try it out. Oh, I said, okay, fine. I'll try it. So I started looking into it, and I noticed that this wasn't just like a small casting call. This was huge. They went to, I think, like 3 different main states in the U.S., and Dallas was one of them. So,
How many people were in those auditions?
This one was probably close to like 4,000.
Oh, wow. That's
yeah,
a ton
just
of
in
people.
Dallas. I mean, Texas is huge. So you have people coming from not only Texas, but like the states surrounding Texas, because it's probably the closest casting call that they had.
This was specifically for plus size modeling, or was it just a general campaign?
Well, anything that was in the range of their sizes from a 10 to a 30. Okay. So a lot of women, basically. So I attended the casting call, and I was having fun. I was meeting friends, making memories, and I never looked at it and thought, I'm going to win. Never once. Like, there was so many other beautiful women, and I was like, yeah, right. Like, I don't have a chance. So anyways, the day went on, and right before I left, one of the ladies pulled me aside and said, I heard you have a flight tomorrow morning. We would like you to come in before your flight to do an on-camera interview. I said, okay. Well, nerves kicked in, and I was like, shit. This is getting kind of real. So, the next day went on, and I went to my interview, and that was it. I never heard anything back for probably like 3.5 months. So by that time, I was working at a salon in Edinburgh, and I thought, that was it. I tried, I auditioned, I went out of my comfort zone, and that was it. I had fun. Well, then I get a call saying, you've made top 10 out of close to 15,000 people.
Wow.
And I was taken back, and I looked at my phone. I'm like, well, maybe this is like a prank, or... So I ended the call. They said, okay, we'll be in touch with you if you make top 4, because the final floor flew to LA.
Do they give certain criteria how they judge the people? Or you weren't aware of any of that? I
wasn't aware of anything, but apparently from the moment that you stepped into that audition line in the mall in Dallas, like, they were judging you from head to toe. So, that day they made it kind of fun. They brought in like a DJ just to like bring us out of our comfort zone. They asked us a couple questions, like really random questions too.
Like what? What were some of the questions?
Like, what kind of animals do you have? And like, what is something that you can do that nobody knows about? I'm like, well, what kind of questions are these? Like, this is like a model audition, but I guess they wanted to feel us out. Yeah. Feel us out, see how we would answer. And so fast forward, got that call at work, freaked out, didn't think anything of it still, because they still had to eliminate another 6 girls from the top 10.
Yeah.
Then I get a call a couple weeks later saying, hey, you made top 4. You need to fly to LA, which I had already signed like a contract saying that if I made it, I would continue my journey, and I would have to go.
So you were bound to it already.
Yeah, which was pretty cool. But I was still freaking out. So
do you think they knew already at that time that you were going to be in the top 4?
I think
by having
they did,
you sign that?
But when they called me and told me that I made top 4, they literally told me it was between me and one other girl.
Oh, wow.
So they picked me, and I freaked out. So I got that call, you made top 4, totally freaked out. Again, couldn't post anything on social media, only told like my family and like 1 or 2 friends, because everything gets around in the valley.
Oh, yeah.
And at the time, my boss that owned a salon in Edinburgh was very against me going.
Why?
He made it very difficult for me to leave that job. And basically, he fired me. Wow. Because I had to go and I had to film and I had to do things for 10 days and he didn't want me to go. Anyways, I went because screw him.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a chance of a lifetime. I'm going to take it. Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I flew to LA for 10 days and it was model boot camp.
So tell me about model boot camp. What was that like? Was it easy? Was it hard? Were you crying? Because for me, when I think about modeling, right? So when we're going to do this podcast, I was kind of researching stuff, right? Mm-hmm. It's not easy to be a model in any type. So either you're thin, you're plus size, anything that has to do with modeling, it's a job. Yes. And if you're good at it, you're pretty much in it. You have to make your spot known, right? So tell me about that boot camp.
So I don't know if you know, but all of this is on YouTube.
Okay, no, I didn't.
It is on the Torrid YouTube, and
Was it like a behind the scenes type of thing? Or
it was everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was behind the scenes of, getting a whole model makeover. So first, they took us to HQ at Torrid, and it was awesome to see the brains and everything behind the clothing and the designers and just everything from lingerie to jeans to shorts to workout gear, everything. It was really cool. But I cried a lot. At model. I mean, they threw you like in front of cameras on the beach in a swimsuit and said, "Okay, model."
So they just expected you to know.
They wanted to see how we adjusted to just the environment. And remember, like all 4 of us had no modeling experience.
Interesting.
I would do local stuff for McAllen, or I used to model for a shop in McAllen, but I never had experience. I never took classes. I never did anything, So this is like, okay, I think I'm posing right. Like I might look awkward in photos, but I don't really know what I'm doing. So threw us out there, did a photo shoot in Malibu on the beach, dyed my hair completely blonde. I was crying. I'm also a licensed cosmetologist. So for somebody to take over and do my hair, not how I want it, like it killed me.
Right.
So I'm on YouTube and I'm crying and, just it's tough. So as time goes on, we're there and doing different activities. Well, the final day came down to picking a winner. And I called my family and said, okay, this is the day. I know I'm not going to win, but that's okay because you can't lose from something like this. Like the experience was incredible. They had us out there in a resort and, I saw their celebrities there and it was the best thing ever because I had never traveled. Like I never went to California, I never been to Florida, I never went anywhere. So the fact that I had a chance like that, I was very grateful. So the last day came and they needed to pick a winner. And when they dropped the curtain and my face was blown up on a huge poster, I wanted to die.
What was that feeling like?
Oh my God. It felt so unreal because I knew at that moment my life would change. Not That's necessarily crazy. Forever, but for a good while.
Right. That's crazy. So you're talking. So I find it fascinating because you're here in one of the most beautiful places in the world, right? And you're having these internal feelings. You're crying. I'm sure there's self-doubt. I didn't even hear you talking about you're not going to win. So that reflection of yourself is like, where does that come from?
I don't know.
That self-doubt, because you seem very, very confident. I don't know if it's just now that you're very confident.
I mean,
but back then,
I'll be like super frank with you. I grew up with like not a lot of money. My mom was a single mom, and if you ever look like in the YouTube videos, you'll see when I talk about like how I grew up, where I would get my clothes from. Because at the time, there was no plus size stores for young women. Mm-hmm. Like there was Walmart, Target, whatever basically my mom could afford, like that's what I would wear. And so I just always had like a mentality that it wouldn't happen to me.
Right. Okay.
Like I'm from the Valley. Like people say like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from South Texas. Where's that? San Antonio? I'm like, no, like the tip by Mexico. Yeah. They're like, oh shit. Like you're from real deep down south. But I don't know. I never expected anything like that to happen to somebody like me.
Yeah. I find that interesting because a lot of people, I think they have to, the mentality is you have to move out of the Valley to become something.
Exactly.
Do you still find that true? Or
yes.
Yes? Why is that?
Yes.
Because I have asked a lot of people this, and from what I've experienced is over time that they do business here in the Valley, like, well, you don't have to anymore. If you asked me that like 5 years ago, I would have said yes. Mm-hmm. So why do you think that they have to get out of the Valley? Well,
you made a good point. I think for certain careers, it's best to not live in the Valley. But if you have a successful business, if you own a business, something that's thriving and that, people always need daily, mm-hmm. then I think you're okay. But if you're in the modeling business and you're doing just things like of that sort, I don't think you're going to make it in the Valley. I mean,
well, you're right, because that industry is about traveling
yes.
and moving around all the time, right?
Yeah. Okay. And where we live, well, here, in McAllen or wherever, there's no modeling agencies. I mean, there might be like a couple local, but we're talking about like the big guns, like LA, New York, Miami. Like those are where the top-notch modeling agencies are. And that's where you need to be, at least in one of the major cities or one of the states. Because here, like when I would fly to LA, I would fly from here to Dallas, from Dallas to California.
Wow. Okay.
So I've had numerous agencies that wanted to sign me, but the fact that I live so far and the fact that I live here is hard because I need to be able to catch like a last minute flight or a red eye to make a shoot.
Wow.
And since I have to travel from here to Dallas to wherever, it's not going to happen.
Interesting. So those kind of shoots are like they don't have them scheduled out. It's like, hey, we need this model right now.
No. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So they could be having like a casting call and you need to attend that casting. So if I really wanted to make it in the modeling industry, I would need to move.
You'd have to be there all the time.
Yeah,
That's
because you need to create like you need to create like your model book, and you need to be open for castings at different times of the day and meeting with different brands because they want you available. They don't want somebody that, oh, well, she doesn't know if she's going to make it or she can't catch a red eye.
They just want you there.
Yes.
Period.
They really don't give a shit about
crazy.
Your life. Yeah. They're going to pay you and they want you there. Whether
it's a machine,
you're working.
It's a business machine
yes.
that keeps going.
Yes.
That's interesting.
So it's not all it's glammed up to be, but I was very grateful to be a part of it. So
talking about that, we were talking off camera that you went through some type of media training.
Oh,
talk about that.
Thanks,
I find
Josh.
that interesting.
Yeah. So I am not one to. God, I don't like to talk in front of people. I get very nervous and anxious, and even in high school, like when I would have to do my speeches, and if I knew if it was my turn next, I would literally go to the restroom and wait for the bell to ring so I wouldn't have to do my speech. And I would take like a 70 just so I could pass, but I wouldn't have to stand in front of people.
Wow.
So she kicked my ass and she made me basically just forget about everything. And yeah, it was hardcore. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about it though. Like
16 hours of feeling very uncomfortable and feeling not like myself. And she really just pulled out, I guess, the inner me that I never knew I had.
So looking back, it was a good thing.
Yeah. Looking back now, it was a good thing.
It just kicked your ass all over the place. And then,
yeah. And now I'm
here
like, okay, fine. I guess I'll talk. I'll tell people a little bit about me.
So coming out of that media training and all these little intricacies of modeling, you were sleeping on airport floors at certain points. I think this is the stuff that people don't really hear about. They think it's a beautiful, glamorous life. And
I mean, it is, don't get me wrong. But when, like, again, since I had to fly, it wasn't a direct flight. There was a couple times where I had to sleep on the airport floor because no flights were flying out.
Interesting.
So I had to wait. And after a couple times, I'm like, okay, you guys need to like pay for me to sleep one more night because I'm not going to sleep on airport. I mean, I would wake up and people were just like staring at me like, what is she on crack? Or like, why is she laying there? But I was tired being up like all night and then all day like working, and people think, oh, she's a model and she has it made. She doesn't have to work. Being up at 5 a.m., like driving to like a crazy location, wanting to throw up on the way because you're going like up the hills and mountains of Malibu and you're like sick and like throwing up and like the pressure's terrible, but like the view is great, but you're feeling like shit because it's a lot. You know what I mean? And you're away from your family. So that's another thing. Like if you don't mind being away from your family and you don't mind like the hectic schedule and like not being home on certain holidays, like go for it.
It's a single person's gig.
Basically.
We
have a friend.
This guy's like, all right, stay out now. He doesn't care. My dog just walked in. Felt free to open the door here. So he just broke my concentration. So let's talk about body shaming and body positivity specifically. All right, go up, buddy. Out.
He's like, no. No, he wants to hear that.
Sit down. All right, so let's talk about that.
Okay. When I was growing up, I got bullied a lot. Whether it was for my weight or how I looked or just basically kids are mean, and anything that they can tell you, they will. Whether it's true or not. Like, you're too skinny or you're too fat or you're ugly or you're too conceited, or it's always something nowadays. And growing up, I think it's very important to have somebody that you can look up to that believes in things that you believe in and who is very positive. And especially in nowadays, like in society, there's so many bad things going on in the world. And growing up with just negative influences and even family can, I hate to say it, but they can be pretty hard with their words and say things that hurt you. And they think, oh, well, I love them, or they're my kid or a family member, and
they'll get over it.
Yeah, they'll get over it. Yeah. They need to hear it. But, that's not the case. When I was growing up, you never saw plus size women on the cover of a magazine. Mm-hmm. You never saw them on the runway. So being plus size and growing up, you kind of feel like an outsider. You feel like, okay, well, nobody really looks like me. These huge brands all over the world don't carry my size. Like, you kind of feel like they're trying to hide you, so where, like, if, say for instance, if I went to Walmart and bought like jeans or a shirt, it was baggy. Like, you don't have clothing that you find now, like that fit your body, that hug your legs, that hug like your waist. And I think it's important for kids growing up to be confident in whatever size they are. Now, I'm not saying it's healthy to be overweight your whole life. I'm not trying to push that. I'm just saying the size that you are, you need to love yourself at that moment. If you don't like the way you look, or, you want to be healthier for your family, which I'm all for, then make small choices, but do it for yourself. Don't do it to try to make somebody else happy. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to go to sleep with yourself. You wake up, with yourself. Even if you are in a relationship, I think it's important for you to make yourself happy first in order to make like your partner happy.
That was always my thing. Like when I was starting this business, I came from the fast food world. So my dad owned a Dairy Queen and Mercedes.
Oh,
so
how wonderful.
I literally worked from 6 years old to 30 years old. And I would look out the window and I was like, man, I wonder what it's like to have a lunch break somewhere else. Never even knew that, like something so simple. And I was like, well, I'm going to do something different. And at that time, I was becoming very selfish. So like, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to do this. Yeah. So in everybody's eyes, it was kind of like, well, this guy's being super selfish. I'm being conceited, stuff like that. But that wasn't the case. I was just like kind of taking care of myself so I can do better and give back later on, which I'm starting to do now. Exactly. So let me ask you that question. Is selfishness a bad thing? Or how do you view that?
I think if you're always putting yourself first, then yes. But in certain circumstances, like for one, like my fiance likes to go to the gym. Okay. Going to the gym is his, like, he needs to go not only for his health, but it gives him a little like minute of sanity. Do I want him to go every day? No. Would I rather have him like help me out or do something or just be there? Yes. But in that moment, he's not being selfish, but I guess I'm kind of being selfish now. But it's good to do things for yourself so that you can, I guess, like reconnect with yourself and be calm and let out like any frustrations or anything. Like even for women, like stay-at-home moms like me, I think it's important not necessarily to go out and to get drunk and, like forget about your kids, but go out, have lunch with a girlfriend, get like a pedicure and go home.
You need that break.
Yes.
Because kids are stressful.
Yes.
I don't think too many people are like, everybody paints a picture on social media like life is perfect and all this stuff.
You know what? I'm not going to name any names, but I know a couple people that every post is rainbows and sunshines and sunflowers, and it's not.
Yeah. No, I completely agree because I try to be authentic in my social media because entrepreneurship is just hard, flat out hard.
Yep.
I get rejected all the time and then one pops up like, yes.
Yep.
But also when I lose a client, I'm like, shit, man, what could I have done?
Yeah, it hurts.
It hurts. So it's like you're trying all your best and trying to do all the stuff right and trying to be on top of everything and then something happens. Yeah. But I get it, like life happens and these are just other business owners that are going through the same things that I'm going through. Mm-hmm. So it's always a roller coaster of emotions.
That's life.
That's life.
Yeah.
I think everybody paints a picture on social media that it's just, all right, everything's fine and dandy.
No, we all have our bad days. I mean, I know a couple people would tell me, oh, like, your life looks so glamorous and you just get to fly around, not necessarily the world, but, you get to fly all over to these different states and do meet and greets and like, oh, your life looks so easy. Yeah. Well, at the time I didn't have 2 kids. Now I have 2 kids, but it was tough. Like there was moments where I would miss birthdays, for my family, or I wanted to be at a special event and I couldn't. Yeah. I had to work and I would travel alone. You know what I mean? So, and I mean, California is not a huge time difference, but I would barely be getting in bed and like my family would be asleep. Yeah. So, but
yeah, it's difficult. I found like that work-life balance. How do you manage it? Or how did you manage it? Yeah. Because I can assume that it's just so hard. You didn't have kids at the time though, right?
No.
So that made it a little bit easier.
Oh, it made it a hell of a lot easier. I didn't have anybody that I was responsible for besides myself.
So how would, like, just say it were to happen again, how would you manage it now?
Oh God. Shit, I don't know if I could.
So if the opportunity presented itself again, would you do it or would you not?
God, why do you have to ask that question? It would be extremely hard. I don't have a lot of family here. Most of my family lives in Louisiana, and my mom, my mom had neck surgery, and my father-in-law is he's doing okay, but he's 87. He's going to be 87, and he's had like a mini stroke this year. So there's a lot of factors. Would I want to do it? Hell yes. Would I want to travel and, be in magazines again, be on TV, be in people's emails? Yes. Do I have like the resources to completely make that happen? No. So that's also why I didn't move to a bigger city.
Do you think if you had moved to the bigger city, you would have children and a fiance now?
I honestly probably no.
Interesting. So your life would have just taken a different
totally different path. And for the longest time, I always thought I couldn't have children. So when it happened, I was super shocked. Super shocked. But, I wouldn't trade it for anything. This happened for a reason. This is the path that God wanted to take me. So I'm like, you know what? I had those 2 years of experience, and I rocked the shit out of those 2 years, and I made those 2 years mine, and I tried to do the best that I could and to influence as many young women as I could, even till now. I mean, I know I took a huge break from social media. Having a baby is no joke. Mm-hmm. Like, I used to post all the time. Different outfits, different brands would send me clothing, Fashion Nova, like Misguided, Torrid, a lot of brands. I would always post their clothing. Now it's like, to get ready, to do my makeup, to do my hair, head out to take a picture. It's like, who's going to take the picture? My 2-year-old?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard.
Social media is hard. A lot of people think, all right, let's just post a picture.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, she didn't post it in 4 days. Let me unfollow her.
Really?
Yeah.
So let me ask you that. So my wife is trying to build her social media, and I've been building mine, right? So, but I use social media differently than most people. I run ads. I run marketing, advertising. This is more, you're in the world of social media influencer.
Yes.
So talk about that. Like, you're in a whole different marketing game. And I find it fascinating that these people with these huge followings are able to bring in money using their social media influence, and also at the same time influence a lot of, I guess, their followers or their audience, right? Mm-hmm. And their ideals. So talk about that, because I'm super interested in how you can influence certain people and move their mindset a certain way. Because I don't know if you watched the Great Hack. Have you heard of that?
I don't even know.
So it's a Netflix show how Facebook and Instagram, all these huge social media platforms are taking information from people, and it's become the number one asset in the world. It finally took over oil. So This information is so valuable, and I find it like the influencers now, they can influence certain decisions and stuff like that. So talk about what you've seen in your experience.
Repeat the question again.
So I want you to talk about your influence, like influencer marketing.
Okay.
Talk about that aspect and what you've seen on your end. Like, do people jump in your DMs, and are there weird people?
Oh God, if I could only pull up some DMs. So here's the thing. I think if you're an influencer, quote unquote, because a lot of people are influencers these days. If you don't post regularly, they're going to unfollow you. If you're going to post something, let's say, for instance, last year, God forbid, we're in Texas and I go dove hunting or I do any sort of killing animals, I lost like 600 followers.
Wow.
Yeah. Just because I went dove hunting, I was, taking all the feathers out of my birds, and that was probably like the biggest drop in my following that I've ever had.
That's interesting.
But at the same time, does it bother me? A little bit, but it doesn't bother me a whole lot, because that's who I am.
Right.
They're going to follow me because they like me, or, they like my posts, or they like what I wear, or they like that I hunt and I fish. That's me. If you don't like that, that's okay. There's an unfollow button, and it's not going to kill me at the end of the day.
Right.
But people, if they follow you, they want to see stuff all the time. If you're not posting regularly, they're going to unfollow you because they think, oh, well, this chick's boring. This guy's boring.
Right.
Like, I don't like what they're posting anymore. But, you know, the bigger following you have, you influence a lot of people. Even if you have a small following, like you could post something one day that could literally save somebody's life.
Yeah, I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And, you know, a lot of people nowadays, like I see that they just post like all these negative things. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've unfollowed a few people that are just toxic and always posting things because I don't have time for stuff like that. I want to follow people who uplift me or who I look up to or some of my role models and just positive people. But I think being an influencer, you have in a way, you have a huge responsibility.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And what I do is when I work with different brands or I work with local people like in the Valley, I try to work with the best of the best. So if I'm going to represent a food company, a healthy food company down here, I've worked with Beauty and the Beast Cuisine. You're not going to see me go out there and advertise for another food company because I believe that they're the best.
Right.
So I see a lot of people will post like, oh, this spa did this for me. And then like 2 months later, they're at a different place. So are you advertising because you believe that they're the best of the best? Or are you advertising because they're paying you or they're giving you free things? Like you're going to confuse your followers and they're not going to find you genuine and they're not going to know what to believe because people get paid to post stuff on social media, whether it's restaurants or hotels or just anything.
Yeah. And
I want to be real with my followers and only give them the best of the best. But that's just me.
Right. Yeah. I'm assuming the whole influencer marketing platform, all the people out there have different agendas.
Yeah. It's like, okay,
else.
well, you just said this one was the best. So which one is it? Like, how, like, do we believe you? Or like, are you just getting paid? Like, it's very confusing. That's why, like, I make it clear to a lot of my followers that, look, I'm not getting paid to post this, but I want you to know that in my opinion, it's the best, or this is where I get my clothes from, or where I go to buy makeup from, or whatever.
I almost feel like that can mold a certain person, like the influencers, like ideals and stuff. So like you were talking about dove hunting, like they just wouldn't do that stuff anymore.
Yeah. Like oh my God, like the names that I got called were just incredible. Like, you killer, you're worthless. Like, are you freaking kidding me?
Wow.
Like, this is how I grew up. Like, I have no problem loading a shotgun and, you know, I mean, I guess it sounds terrible, but killing some birds. Yeah. But I eat what I kill. I don't believe in trophy killing and, you know, killing these elephants and like lions and just shit like that. Like, if I'm going to kill something, I'm going to eat it. Right. Same thing with fishing. Oh my God, you know, the fish are hungry and they bit your line. And I'm like, seriously? Like, are you fucking kidding me right now? This is the world we live in. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm starving, but I enjoy fish. I enjoy fishing. I enjoy hunting. Like, I enjoy all that stuff.
And we live right next to the South Padre Island.
I know. Like awesome. God, I think if they lived here and they grew up, they would know better. But
yeah, I agree.
God forbid.
But I'm assuming your followers are from everywhere.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I want to talk about aesthetics. I have a client, and I won't say the name, but so this whole world of aesthetics, and I actually went to an aesthetics conference in Vegas probably last month or something like that. And it was one of the biggest ones that is in Vegas or around the USA. Mm-hmm. So the whole trend of making yourself beautiful in the eyes of people, how does that translate into what you do? Because I'm assuming there's a certain type of person that would go get Botox, that would get certain things like that. I want to touch on that because I know, and I've seen it too. Like, there's girls that were like, I'm not going to touch that or stuff like that. So I'm not a woman. I don't come from that world. I just kind of want to understand, like, who are the people that would go and do these type of things? Because even with like Selfina, right? So Selfina is like the cellulite reduction, or they get rid of it, or even the there's I guess there's so many, right?
I know.
So what does that person look like versus the other person, or is it just like a mentality that certain people have, or women?
God, that's a good question. Number one, I think it has a lot to do with who you surround yourself with. How you were grown, like how you were raised. If you were raised in a family that, you know, everybody's got Botox and everybody's got lip injections and fillers and plastic surgery, like I think it's just kind of in you to, I guess, like follow them in a way, because I feel maybe that they need to, because it's just in their family. And if they don't, they'll probably look like, not necessarily like the ugly duckling, but they'll feel out of place. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So for me, I'd never had Botox in my life, ever. Then I found this medical spa and I said, you know what? I do makeup a lot, and I know Botox is a preventative for wrinkles so that they don't set in and crease and they're not there forever. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try it out. Well, now I freaking love Botox. But am I going to get it all the time? No. I don't know. I think I'm not saying that women are fake that get it, because I have a lot of friends that get it, and it actually really does help with migraines, which I get migraines a lot. But
well, even guys get it too.
Yeah.
It's Botox. That's what it's called.
Yeah, Botox. Well, my ex-brother-in-law gets it, but his is for his migraines, so he says. But I don't know. Maybe, you know, maybe they're scared of getting old, or they want to portray this image that, you know, they look perfect on social media. And that's another thing, like young people. I mean, we're talking like middle school, high school, like these kids are young, and you see them starting to get Botox and fillers. I mean, if it's medically necessary, I'm all in for Botox,
right?
You know, when you're young. But I think that they're trying to portray an image that's not necessarily them.
Do you think that would be around if social media wasn't around?
I think it would, but it would, like, the percentage would be really low.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating, because I always thought that.
Me too. Like, I've never thought about it like that. But now that I'm thinking, it's like, okay, you know, women have, I've seen some women that have beautiful lips, and then they're there getting injected. Why? Because the Kardashians get their lips injected. Like, they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, but yet, like, they're having trouble, like, paying their monthly bills. You know what I mean? Or they're buying these handbags that they necessarily can't afford, but they want to impress people that they don't even know.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's, we live in a screwed up world.
we live in a very, very interesting world, and it's fascinating because I always my thought process is like there's 7 billion people in this world. If everybody was like me, or if everybody was like you, it'd be a really boring world.
Yeah, I mean, no shit. Like I don't do anything. I mean, I used to. I used to love to go out and country dance and Tejano dance, but you know, I have 2 kids now, and I have responsibilities, and they're nobody's responsibility but mine.
Right.
Well, and my fiance. But
let me ask you this: so, child abuse. I work with the Children's Advocacy Center of Hidalgo County, and it's a huge problem, especially here in the Valley. So, the latest statistic that they told me was that they reviewed 10,000, like I guess calls and stuff like that, right, of child abuse. And they served 2,000 child abuse cases since September 2018.
Wow.
That's a shitload of cases.
That's scary.
And last year, it was in July, when we started the social media campaigns. No, we started actually before that, I think 3 months before that. And in July, they were telling me that they had the most number of cases that they've ever had before. And I think social media helped push that out and make it okay to talk about, because it's a very taboo subject.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Because for me, when my daughter was born, that's when like the light bulb turned on. It's like, okay, you know, I got another life here that I have to worry about. And that's where my mentality shifted. So, and then my little boy came along too. So it was like, all right, I got to get stuff done, as I can't do the same things I was doing before. So what are your thoughts on child abuse? Because it's such a taboo topic, and I want to be able to make it okay to talk about.
I don't understand why some women, I mean, I'm going to be very frank. I don't understand why some women can't take care of their children. If the father is, an abuser, or he's violent, or he's just not a good fit, then that is our responsibility as a woman to stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to take care of my kids. I'm going to put them first. I'm going to take them away from any harm that they could possibly be in. And I'm going to do my damn best to raise them to the best of my abilities.
Sometimes I feel like it's very hard for women to get out of those relationships, especially if they're being abused and then also the abuse is happening to the children. It's like something really bad can happen. Like the man can just commit murder, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a very scary scenario to be in.
Well, okay, so I guess since we're doing a podcast, not a lot of people know this, but I was in a very abusive relationship. And I briefly spoke about it when Torrid did like their whole interview like on YouTube and stuff like that. But, you said it's scary to be in a relationship that's like that. And it's terrifying because I was to the point, and, thank God I didn't have kids at the time. But, I would get punched in the stomach, or like, he would have his hands like around my throat. And like, I remember shit like that because like you don't forget, like you can't forget stuff that happened to you like that. And it's traumatizing and it's terrifying because you think, okay, well, you want to leave, but if you do, or if you try, like, what if he hurts me, or what if he kills me? You know what I mean? There's so much, there's so many things that go on like that, like nowadays. And it's scary, and especially with kids, I mean, thank God I don't have to go through that, but I don't know. I mean, the day that I left, I mean, he tried so many things like to keep me like getting my name tattooed and saying that he was going to commit suicide. But I knew that if I didn't leave, I knew something bad would happen.
Right. Eventually.
Yeah. And I had to get out. Stupid eye. But yeah, I knew I had to get out, and it was scary. But I filed a restraining order, and I stayed home for a long time, and I didn't want to leave the house because I was scared that I would run into him in public, or, just see him and like something would flip and he would just like go crazy. The
psychological effects that had to have been crazy, huh?
Yeah. Having just not necessarily just trust issues, but just to be with somebody after that, like it was scary because you're like, well, what if it turns out to be another relationship like my past?
You never know what people are capable of. It's so strange. Like, all these. So one of the things the other day is I ran across an article on Facebook, and it was one of the guys from PSJA. He had committed suicide. Oh. So suicide just in rankings it surpassed car crashes.
Yeah, like it's definitely crazy. Going up there in numbers.
What do you think about like mental health nowadays?
Oh God,
it's so vast. There's so many things that can affect certain people, and they just can flip.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people need the help, but they're too embarrassed to find it, or to ask a family member, or to talk to a friend about it. But I mean, it's scary. Like even like nowadays, like when, like say if I need to go to the store for something, like I know it doesn't just happen at Walmart, it happens anywhere. But like I try to avoid like places with huge crowds or events where there's going to be a lot of people. But like that's what this world has come to, and it's scary. And I've always said it's not going to get better.
It sucks because I remember growing up and like I would play outside literally all day long, and my parents would be like, just go do whatever you do.
Yeah, I mean there was no cell phones like when I was growing up. I mean I'm only going to be 30, but like when I was in junior high and stuff, like we didn't have phones. Like there was no need for a phone. We felt safe at school. Like we never thought of, oh my God, like is somebody going to bring a gun to school? Right. Or, going to church or a movie theater, just anything where there's big crowds, like we never had to worry about it.
Do you feel it's like the attention that the person gets, and that's what it fuels that whole thing? Because I don't know if it's just me, but I see like a trend happening with suicide. And even like talking about it, I feel bad because I could influence and just put it out there. And like there's a trend that I see so I have to be very careful with what I talk about because we're in a world where people listen,
Exactly.
So I feel like suicide is becoming a trend. Like it's...
Yeah, it's like the new it thing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I find that I don't know if it's just a mental health type of issue or if it's just something that...
I think it could be both. I think it could be, yes, like I have issues, with my brain or whatever. But I think it can also be just a random person that's saying, you know what, I'm not having a good day today. Yes, I have a gun. I didn't buy it for this purpose, but I'm going to use it to do something, and anything can just tick somebody off. And driving in a car, people carry, I'm sure people carry in other states, but in Texas, people carry a lot. Mm-hmm. And if you piss off a driver or you do something and his switch gets flipped, he'll pull a gun on you. You know what I mean? I mean, it's scary.
It's the world we live in. So let me ask you about gun control. What do you?
God, you're
think?
touching every topic.
I'm trying to. These are all the things that interest me. I just like these. That's the thing that happened in Walmart. It's so.
Hi, Tess.
I don't get it.
Sorry, I'm live on Instagram, and a very good friend of mine / a beautiful model, Tess Holiday, just joined. So
Nice.
I just wanted to tell her hi.
Ask her if she has any questions for you.
Tess, do you have any questions for me while I'm doing a live podcast?
So gun
She's
control.
still there.
Let's talk about gun control. What are your thoughts on that?
Do I think it's necessary to own an AK-47? No. Do I think you need it, like, for home invasion? No. Can a shotgun do, the deal? Yes. Handgun can do the deal too. I don't know. It's a very touchy subject. Do I believe, that the laws should be stricter? Yes. Now, like, to completely take away like our guns in our homes, like I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think the laws need to be stricter when you're trying to own a rifle, especially an assault rifle. Like, we're not at war with our neighbors across the street. Like, you don't need a firearm that strong.
Yeah, because I mean, even with the shotguns, it won't go through the walls. That's
Yeah, I mean, unless it's like a sawed-off double barrel, like whatever. But
yeah,
we don't need that. Like, we have alarm systems and we have cameras. And yes, I mean, I have guns in my home. Are they put away, sealed to where my children can't get them? Yes. But I don't know. I mean, we live in Texas, and I think it's very important to have at least one gun of some type, handgun, shotgun, like just something.
And that goes back to the mental health bars. Like all these people, I think people should get screened first.
Yes,
and then
absolutely.
Yeah, of course, harder laws.
Yes.
Harder ways to get weapons, right?
See, but even then, if they live in a house where not necessarily they bought the gun, but a father, has guns. I mean, I don't know. It's a very touchy subject.
I think we can go down a rabbit hole with this.
Like we could be here like till midnight talking about this, but I don't know. You have to be very careful nowadays, and it sucks that you have to, think, okay, well, this is where I'm going. You need to be just familiar with like the exits in the building, your surroundings, like always have your phone on you. I hate like when my mom goes to the store, she's like, oh, I left my phone at home. I'm like, what do you have a freaking phone for?
Yeah.
Like, you need the phone on you. If something happens, you need to text or like dial out to 911. You know what I mean? But yeah.
So let me ask you this now. So now that everybody has phones and all that stuff, and obviously your phones can track you, stuff like that. Do you feel like it's a good thing or a bad thing that all these huge social media companies, or even these huge companies like Google, Oracle, they have this tracking technology where they can track where you are and you can find out where your mom is or with stuff like that? Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? Because obviously we're giving up a little part of our privacy, or a lot of our privacy, to have that convenience.
I guess for me, it's not a big deal because, like I said, I'm always home.
Yeah.
Or if I go somewhere, like I'm with my kids, or if I'm out doing like a client for makeup, like that's where I'm at. Now, if it's to the point where like, oh, like I don't want my mom seeing me go here, just turn off the location. But in a way, I mean, I think it's good. At least somebody kind of always knows where you're at. Yeah. If something were to happen.
There's a lot of people that have a problem with that.
Yeah. I wonder who those people are. I wonder where they go.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, why don't you?
You shouldn't be there.
Yeah. But.
Okay. I want to talk about opiates. Are you familiar with this huge thing that's going on? There's more. So 1 in 7 or 40 million Americans ages 12 and older have a substance abuse problem.
Damn.
So it's crazy. That's more than heart conditions, which are 27 million, God. Diabetes, 26 million, or cancer, 19 million people, right? So every single day, more than 130 people in the United States die after overdosing on opiates. That's a huge...
How many?
130 people a day die from overdoses and opiates. So this is one of the things that's been on my mind a lot. So these doctors are getting stipend. They're getting some money on I don't know if it's the underground or whatever. They're getting money to talk about opiates. They're pretty much doing public speaking, consulting, and then they're prescribing these medications to these people that might not necessarily need it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Because it's a huge epidemic, and I think is okay. Let me ask you this: is that the question to be asking, or is it ethical for these huge big pharma to like go after these doctors? And these doctors are getting like 6 figures just for prescribing stuff like that.
First of all, I think it depends which doctor you go to. I know that there's doctors out there. Oh, okay, you're depressed. Here you go. Mm-hmm. Prescription. Like medication can fix everything. I think they need to be a little more careful who they give those prescriptions to. But it's like anything. It's like with guns. If you can't get it, you're going to find somebody else that has it. Right. Same thing with marijuana down here. If you don't get it, you're going to find somebody that has it because almost everybody has a connection down here.
Yeah.
But I'm not too familiar with it, like with the opiates. I've heard about it, but like I said, I'm a mom of 2, so if I watch anything, it's usually like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse or Vampirina or something like that. But it's scary. If it's not mental health, it's drugs. If it's not drugs, it's like it's gun violence or like politics. It's just
it's always something.
It never ends.
Yeah,
but. I wish I could answer more of that question, but I don't. I'm not like familiar.
That's fine. Like you said, there's so many different things that are going on.
Yeah, it's like if it's not suicide, it's police officers that are getting shot. You know what I mean? And their families having to suffer, and it's just it's one thing after another. If it's not that, it's the freaking Amazon. Yeah. Like with the fire. It's just I don't believe that it's ever going to get better. Like it's hard to see that everything is just going to get better, like right. Politics and with like wildlife and just society and just everything.
I mean, relatively, most of us live a very good life. It's just certain parts where these things happen. So it's a difficult world to live in. I think it's just amplified by social media. Yeah. Like all the information's out there. So yesterday I was at a barbecue, right?
Oh, God.
And 103 degree weather. Started to rain.
Oh, God.
And it hailed.
In McAllen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Global warming.
San Juan, it missed us and then like it came back for us. But it's like, what? The index was like 112 the other day. Crazy. And then it's like, okay, wait, I'm going to rain on you for a little bit.
So I heard that there's record temperatures. I forget what city it was, but like 130 degrees. It's crazy.
Murder.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on global warming? Is it real or is it fake?
God.
I mean, we could feel it.
I know.
From 103 degree weather to raining and hail.
Like I said, it's not going to get better. I don't know. It's just, like I said, it's always something.
It's always something.
It's always something. Always. But I don't know. It's now we have to be like, did you drink enough water? Are you going to like pass out if you go outside? Like, what part of the country do you live in? Like, are you snowed in while we're like dying of heat in South Texas and like other states? Like, it's, I don't know. God, you ask these hard questions. I wasn't prepared for all this.
I heard that like in the next 30 to 50 years, like Saudi Arabia, it will be unlivable. Like they won't be able to live there. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
But I feel like obviously global warming goes in and out. Like it's always happened.
It forgives a little bit, and then like it'll attack you pretty hard, and then say, okay, I was too hard on you. Let me chill out. But then I'm gonna come back for you in a couple months. So. But
the weather down here in South Texas has been atrociously hot.
Yeah, and I don't understand why they close water parks.
Yeah.
Like it's like 90 degrees in December, so. And they, at where I live, like near Far or whatever, they have like the city, like water parks for the kids. And this is our last weekend to be open. I'm like, why? Is it gonna freaking snow next month? Like It's hot all the time. But I don't know.
How do you feel like your children are gonna grow up in this world where everything's changing so drastically? Like
I'm honestly terrified.
Think about it. Like
I never had to grow up in fear of where I went for the day or who I talked to, or I could walk to my best friend's house, like down the street. Like you can't even walk your neighborhood nowadays. Like with all these kids being abducted and kidnapped and freaking Amber Alerts on my phone at like 4 a.m, like scaring the shit out of me. And it's it's sad to say, but like our world isn't as safe as it was, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. It's changed so much.
What do you think it is?
The end of time. No, I don't know. It's just, it's not how it used to be. Not even the people that you meet, are how people used to be back then. Everybody used to be like so nice and forgiving. And I think society just puts a lot of stress on us daily. We live to work. Yeah. We work to live, like to pay our bills. I know a lot of families don't even get to spend time with their family because they're working so much. And
do you think it's the whole American dream that's what's been forced down our throats?
I think it's overrated.
You think so?
Yeah. I'm not saying that, you have to live in like a double wide and be miserable, or an apartment and be miserable. Like, yes, everybody wants like, a place to live and a place that they can call home. But home for some people is like, oh, I have to have like this $4 million house and, like this $3,000 dog. And I think a lot of people think that, it can buy happiness. Yeah. But we're all gonna end up in that one grave one day, and none of it is gonna matter.
Do you believe in aliens?
Damn.
Okay, let me rephrase that.
Life on other planets.
Yeah, do you believe in life in other planets?
I think so.
It's just the universe is so vast. It's kind of hard to
you see, if it's not one thing, it's freaking aliens. Not one thing.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah, like next they're gonna say like one was spotted in like Edinburgh or something.
So that's the thing. Like I think when I was listening to a podcast with Bernie Sanders, and he was talking about if he were to win presidency, he would tell everybody if aliens are real or fake.
So he knows?
No, I don't think he knows yet.
Oh, I'm like, so he knows.
But once he gets into the presidency, all that stuff will be opened up. What do you think about that Area 51 thing that's going to happen in September? Have you heard about that?
No.
So there's a Facebook group that everybody wants to go raid Area 51. I think there was like a...
Oh, yes. Yeah. They wanted to like charge in there and just see what was going on.
Are you one of those people that would, those types of people that would go out there?
I don't give a shit. I mean, just post about it.
So what would happen if they actually found aliens? Like, what would that change your belief system or something?
Well, definitely. If somebody's like, look, there's a freaking alien. Like, there's aliens in here that they've captured and have held here. Then, like, where'd they get them from? Like, why hasn't anybody, like, why hasn't that info leaked by now? But I don't know. What do you think? I mean,
I don't know. I I don't think there's aliens that look like the aliens that we're thinking of.
Like the big
beady
head
eyes,
and the big eyes and small.
I definitely think there's
body.
life out there, but
Same.
As far as aliens, I don't know.
Yeah.
I believe there's life out there,
I think so.
but
I don't
not,
think it
not
looks
in the form that I
how-
think.
Yeah, like Alien versus Predator or anything.
But it
I
would
don't
be
think
a
it's like that.
spectacle to see those people that are hanging out at Area 50. I heard all the hotels and motels are already sold out.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I have like lint in my eye.
That's
oh my
crazy.
God.
Yeah, so like being part of that.
Oh my God. People can't even like make it to church on time or like pay their bill on time, but they have to be there at that day at that time,
Yep.
like doing that to try to catch something. I don't know.
It's weird. It's a strange thing, but I think I would be one of those people that would be there, but not storm it. Like I would like to see.
We'll just watch from
Yeah, I'll
afar.
just watch. I'm a watcher.
That'd be interesting.
So God.
Now I'm gonna think about that today.
So God, let me talk about that. The faith, God, stuff like that. Are you a believer in let me word this correctly. Not religion, not per se. But so what I heard, there's 1 million Catholics now here in the Rio Grande Valley. 1 million.
Dang.
There's like 1.3 million people here in the valley. So what is your view on God and faith and stuff like that?
I grew up in a Christian household. My grandparents used to be Catholic, like many, many moons ago. God rest their souls. But they converted, so to speak, and they were Christian. My mom grew up Catholic. As she got older, then she converted to, I guess, Christianity. But I think it's important to have a relationship with God. Now, like all these religious views, and you have to do this, and you have to pray to so and so to, for your prayer to be answered. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe you can talk to God one-on-one, or like pray to Jesus, or like, have that relationship with you and him. Now, do I think you have to go to church every Sunday to, if you die to go to heaven? No, there's people who go to church every Sunday who never miss. And yet when they go home, they're like cheating on their wives, or, they're beating their children, or, things like that. But I think it's important just to have that one-on-one time with him. And, we devote ourselves so much to our social media and our phones and work, but we forget at the end of the day, like, who blessed us with another day of life. Now, I'm not saying that God is looking at people and saying, oh, you know what? You haven't talked to me. Let me just
delete you.
Yeah, let me just like push a button and you'll be gone forever. No, I think we have a lot to do with our choices in life, have a lot to do with how our life ends up, and like who comes into our life, who we allow to stay in our life. And everything, I think, plays a huge factor. But going back to like faith and stuff, I had a pretty close call like with death a couple years ago. I was in a fatal car accident, and I'm not going to get too much into detail because I don't want any like drama brought up from the past and the people who were with me. But I could have died that day, and I knew after that it wasn't my time. Like, I literally felt like God told me, this is not your time. I have a lot more for you to do, a lot more people for you to reach, and I'm going to use you. Well, shit. Now I'm over here cussing. Hey, I'm real, right? But I don't know. It's just, I felt like from God that wasn't my time to go. And the vehicle that I was in was hit by a truck, like at 80 miles an hour, and the car was literally like smashed in half. Wow. And, they cut the door and pulled me out with the jaws of life. And the first thing that I said was, the devil's a liar. Like it came out of my mouth without even me wanting to talk. Like, my shoes came off of my feet. That's how hard we were hit in the vehicle.
Wow.
Yeah. And I knew at that time, I was like, okay, like I'm too young. Like my time isn't over, and I have a lot of things, to do. And, little did I know that I would be put in such, I guess, I was going to be involved with a lot of people because of the job that I had with Torrid. Like I touched a lot of lives along the way. I know that I helped a lot of women along the way, privately, like through messages. And, you know, I would have women that would reach out and ask for help and advice and stuff like that. So I knew my life wasn't over. Like I knew I had things that I had to do. And I know it was because like God's grace that he saved me that day and it wasn't my time. So I definitely believe that, you know, there is a God and it's important to have faith and thank him every day. I mean, we get so busy like with our lives and we expect tomorrow to come.
Right.
And we're not guaranteed like the end of the day. We're not even guaranteed to wake up the next day. Yeah.
So. That's what I feel about like when I travel sometimes, because I've been invited some places and like I was recently invited to Africa to go help a plastics company that's out there to run their digital media. So when I told my wife, she's like, well, what happens if something happens to you over there? I was like, well, I mean, I could die on a car crash on the way home.
Exactly.
So I kind of live my life where like, you know, I've traveled into Monterrey on bus and stuff like that. So everybody's like, it was super dangerous. What happens if something happens?
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know where life is going to take me. So I jump at pretty much all opportunities that I possibly can, right?
Yeah.
Of course, in the scope of I have family, so I have to take that into account, stuff like that. But I just feel like social media has opened up a whole world for opportunity. And the people that aren't taking those opportunities, I find like, all right, well, you can either take these opportunities or sit in your couch and do nothing.
Yeah.
I just feel
waste your life.
Yeah,
basically.
You have to, if you want to, right? It has to be, depends on the person, right? But I've always been an opportunist. Like, you know, I'm going to try these things. And I do. I was drinking Friday night. And if you catch me when I'm drinking, I'll probably say yes
easily.
to.
Like, oh, you know, I was drinking Friday night. I'm like, oh, thanks. I was taking care of 2 kids Friday night.
Well, my kids are older now, so my older one could take care of the smaller one. So I had an idea.
Watch your brother.
I know, right? Watch him, take him to sleep. So what happened was, like I said, social media has opened up the doors to meet everybody, right? And there's so many talented people out there. So I had an idea of doing a fight choreography scene here in downtown McAllen and kind of filming it and see where it goes with a little storyline, right? And I literally just put out on Facebook, like, does anybody know any fight choreographers? Mm-hmm. And within like 2 minutes, somebody tagged someone. And then I asked her, I was like, hey, can you do this? What would you charge? And she was like, yes, I can do it for this amount. I was like, I paid her right there. Because I am very opportunistic. So if something happens, like I'll take advantage. And I think that's the world we live in, that people that don't take those opportunities risk not trying different things and branching out.
Exactly.
What do you feel about people that jump around and try different things? Because I know for me, when I was doing this whole social media thing, a lot of people were like, well, why are you jumping into something new? And you're unpredictable and you're not untrustworthy, but like, I guess to people, it looks like you're jumping around too much.
Yeah.
I don't find that necessarily a bad thing.
I think if you have the opportunity to try something, why not? Like if you're available to do it and your family supports you, then why not? Yeah. Like that's why we live. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you know, to have a house and a family and a life and all that stuff, but you need to live for yourself and take chances when they come. What if I wouldn't have auditioned for the Torrid model search? You know what I mean? Those 2 years that I flew out every 2 weeks, I wouldn't have had that if I would have said, you know what, no, like I'm too shy, or like help me, I'm poor, you know, type of thing. But like I took a chance, and look what happened when I took a chance. I beat 15,000 other women around the world that flew in to audition for this one main job, and I won. And if I wouldn't have done that, who knows where I would be.
I find that fascinating.
I wouldn't be here, that's for sure. I wouldn't have like the following that I did. I wouldn't have, you know, women to reach out to me that are comfortable enough to do it and say, hey, you know what, like I need advice or I need help, or because of you, like I'm not ashamed to post full body pictures, or, you know, to love myself more. So I think everything happens for a reason. And if a freaking opportunity comes, like with all means, you need to take it. Live your freaking life.
So I'm guessing you're an introverted person with extroverted tendencies.
Something like that.
And I think I fall into the same bucket.
Yeah.
I've found like when I'm super extroverted at certain things, when I'm giving like speech or something where I'm surrounded by a lot of people, or I'm at networking events, I get super tired and drained.
Well,
like,
you're exhausting everything that you have like into other people, and you're like, it's tiring.
Yeah, I find that fascinating. It's like, shit, man, I'm tired.
Yeah. It's a lot of work talking.
It's a lot of work talking.
Yeah.
People, I don't think very many people think about that. So before we finish off the podcast, in all your years, all your accumulated years of knowledge and what has led you through life up to now, what is the best piece of advice you can give somebody or anybody?
If you have the opportunity, especially to do something you love, and you have the resources to help you and the support, do it. Now, if you don't have any kids, God, by all means, I don't think you have an excuse. I mean, I really don't, unless it's like money, but I don't know, take chances when they come, pray about it before you do something. Be surrounded with positive people that will uplift you, not just say, oh, well, you should try it, but what if this happens to you? Or like, you don't need people like that. Like, yes, we all know that leaving the house, something could happen to you, but we get one life, and I think you need to do something with your life so people remember what you did and who you were, not just, oh, well, she had this opportunity, but she never took it, or she never lived life to the fullest. I mean, I'm sure there's things that, like little things that I would change in life, but if I did, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I believe everybody goes through certain